Have you ever felt like nothing is going right? Well, cheer up and welcome to Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver radio program on Health Star Worldwide, where you'll learn how to avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout and how to survive the grieving process. They say that there are only 3 types of people in the world: those who are caregivers, those who will become caregivers, and those who will someday need a caregiver. Join Dave and his guests now and every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific on Health Star Worldwide as they share practice tips and tools that you can start using immediately to help get you through this day so you can live your caregiver life more fully and abundantly. Now, here's your caregiver host, Dave Nassaney.
From Los Angeles, a big LA welcome to all my listeners out there in Radioland. I am Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver, coming to you live globally through the famous Health Star. Actually, it's now called the Radio Star Worldwide Radio Network. Yes, folks, I am the guy who's going to help you and guide you through this very difficult journey called caregiving. And we're going to do our very best to help you avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout. Yes, it is a nasty word, and it is a nasty thing, and it doesn't feel good. We have an exciting show planned for you today with my co-host Blade and me. We have no guests today except us. And that's okay because we're pretty important people, aren't we, Blade?
Yes. As far as we think.
You know, in the live radio and the live television arena, sometimes you have to just go with the flow and your guests cancel at the last minute because of emergencies, because most of my guests are emergencies. Poor Adrienne came down. She had the microphone on, the headphones on. She was ready to go. And then she got this vertigo spell and just had to get to bed because she was very dizzy, and that happens to some of us, doesn't it? Anyway, if you're new to the show, and we get many new listeners every week, especially from the Blab Television Network, I am your host, Dave Nassaney, and this show is to caregivers of every single kind. And the one thing we know about caregivers is that they are caring, selfless, sacrificial. Sounds good so far, huh? Oh, yeah, that tiny little bad habit, they're very prone to burnout because they tend to put everyone else's needs above their own. Been there, done that. Folks, learn a lesson from the airlines. If there's anything we can learn from the airlines, it is this, that in the event of an emergency, you must put your own oxygen mask on first before you help that darling little child next to you with their mask. And the airlines know that from experience, if you don't follow those directions, you will most likely black out. And then you won't be any good to anybody, especially to that little thing next to you. And guess what? Caregivers are exactly the same way. Oh my gosh, what a revelation. And we also talk about grief and loss here and the devastating effects that it can have on us. It automatically throws us into this, oh my gosh, another thing. And it's called the grief process. Ouch. Unfortunately, folks, only one way out of the grief process. Got to go through it. No other way. Can't go around it, over it, under it. Got to go through it. So hopefully we can help you through your grief and your loss if you happen to feel like, you're stuck. I want to thank my last week's guest, Harriet Tramer. She did a great job. Got a book coming out. So stay tuned for that. And that is on my website. You can hear it again if you missed it, caregiver.com. And while you're on that site, my gosh, you can get a free copy of my book by just taking a short quiz and finding out if you're a candidate for burnout. Sounds like a win-win to me, doesn't it? Yeah, I think so. All right, enough of that. Blade, welcome to the show. Dave, that's me. Welcome to the show. Thank you, Dave. Glad to be here. Okay.
Thank you. Hey, the Harriet Tramer, when you had her on a month ago, Dave, maybe a month and a half ago.
A couple of weeks ago. Wasn't it?
Have you had her on twice?
No.
Oh, so that was just a couple of weeks ago.
Couple of weeks. Time flies when you're having fun. You missed 1 week only, Blade.
Oh, I thought that was last week. Okay, yeah.
Blade was on a vacation.
I was in San Diego, and I'll bring that up here shortly, which is one overrated town, I am here to tell you.
Yeah.
Now, the Harriet Tramer interview was fascinating because, first of all, she's just one of those kind of people. When I first saw her on your Blab show,
Yeah.
she looked and reeked and breathed and talked Caregiver from the second you see her.
A real pro. And she's a famous author. She's written like dozens of books.
She needs her own documentary.
Yeah, I'll tell her that.
And then you can film it. No, but she does. She'd be fascinating for a documentary.
I've done documentaries. Maybe I should, but God, who has the time?
That's right. Well, that's it, isn't it? She's terrific. Yeah, just terrific. But
well, when we were trying to decide what to talk about, Blade mentioned hospitals, which was very timely because I just left the hospital moments ago because guess what happened? My lovely wife, Charlene, the wife of the caregiver's caregiver, she rides a power chair because she suffered a stroke 20 years ago and she's like paralyzed on her right side, so she can't walk very well. She has that drop foot thing. And we were going to Walmart in our handicap van with the handicap lift. And I'm kind of nursing a herniated disc myself lately. And so I'm in a wheelchair also, her backup power wheelchair. So the two of us are in our wheelchairs in our van, and we're going to Walmart because she tells me she needs underwear. Now, I'm not sharing too much information, but if she was here, she would say I was. Anyway, I could use underwear too. So we're going there, right? The goal is get some underwear for both of us. And so she goes out first and she goes up the little ramp at Walmart and she turns around and she's just watching me unload and I'm doing my thing and I'm getting the lift back up and securing the van. All of a sudden I hear this scream and I turn around and she's on the floor and she is out of the chair and her front two wheels are off the curb, apparently, and I don't know why, because she was going in that direction, why she decided to come back. Maybe she forgot something. But there was a ramp here and a ramp there, and then, there's parking spots, and then there was a curb between the two ramps. Sorry, I'm hitting my mic here, because I'm Italian, almost Italian, talking with my hands. And so from her perspective, it all looked like a ramp. So she just came off the curb. She went down and I couldn't pick her up because, So fortunately, some big guy was coming down the parking lot. Hey, you need help? I said, yeah. So we managed to get her up and threw her in the chair and her ankle looked really swollen. The guy's out of breath. Well, it's a good thing I was here. I said, yeah, thank you. I would have had to call 911. So she wanted to go back in the store buy underwear. I said, no, we're going to the hospital because her ankle was like getting bigger and bigger. And I said, is it swollen? Is it sprained? Is it broken? I don't know. So they went over there and both her fibia and her tibia fractured into many pieces because I guess her bones are getting brittle the older we get. So, they did some heavy duty surgery on her. And I'm telling you, it was a work of art. I got a picture of it here and I'll show it to you guys if the camera will pick it up. Anything to say so far, Blade, while I'm pulling this up?
Yeah. Quick thing is that
there we go.
People tend to weigh more, don't they? Aren't they?
Last time I remember she weighed 145. And I don't even remember when that was, but she's always kind of weighed 145. Let's see if this will come through. Can you see that good?
I can see a nail.
Yeah, one screw in the big one and several screws in a plate in the little one.
And those are all new?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the doctor says, yes, she needs to be immobilized, no weight bearing for 3 months. And of course, she had her surgeries, was in pain, medications, feeling better now, which is kind of crazy because, after leg surgery, they're cutting you open on two sides. It should hurt more, So she's got grace with God, I think. But she's ready to come home, And nursing home, oh my gosh, you should have seen her reaction when they said you're going to a nursing home. I tried to get her into the acute care ward under the hospital, in the basement. And they said, Medicare don't qualify. It's not serious enough. You got to break a hip to get in there, So she's arguing with me. I said, if you had your seatbelt on, because her chair has a seatbelt. We always get in fights about wearing the seatbelt. And she never wears it. And after a while, you just kind of give up fighting. But, I hate it when I'm right. But now she comes up with this theory that if she did have the seatbelt on, then the chair would have fallen on top of her and she would have been in worse shape. And I said, I don't think so. I will go on Mythbusters or something with that. So last night I took her chair out when I got home, and I said, okay, I'm going to experiment. I put the seatbelt on. I was very careful, trying to do it under a controlled environment here. I pushed the two wheels over, and of course I went over, but my seatbelt was protecting me. But the chair wanted to keep going because apparently my weight is enough to pull even the 65 pounds or so of the motor and the batteries and everything that's on the other side fighting. And so I think she might be right. I think that it might have fallen on top of her. So what's worse? Falling out of a chair, we know what happens when that happens. You break your fibia and your tibia, or having the chair just kind of fall on top of you. But I think it's safer that way because you're one with the chair, right? It's like if you fall over sideways or whatever, you're not going to be thrown from the vehicle because you're just stuck in that chair. I think she would have been better. What do you think, Blade?
Yeah, ooh. That's a completely hairy one. So you become one with a chair. So it protects you in a sense.
Yeah.
But it could also be dangerous if you hit your head on, say, the armrest, and if you're rolling down, maybe more injuries could come if you roll further than you think you're going to roll. So if you're taken away from your wheelchair, that might be safer. And it really depends on the environment,
Yeah.
What if the wheelchair rolls you because you don't have your seatbelt on into a nice plot of green grass?
Yeah, because it does restrict you from remember when seatbelts were mandatory in cars, the argument was, well, I need to, or airbags, I think it was, I need to make maneuvers to save the car, and they're afraid that this airbag exploding in your face would prevent you from saving your life or from the car from going over a cliff or something. And so
then how are you going to get out of the car if it's submerged in water and your seatbelt's on? Yeah.
So I think it's a job for Mythbusters. I'm gonna call them and write them, and I think they'll take my case. What do you think?
Yeah, such a good question. There are really no good answers for you.
I've been on TV so much lately. I mean, it's unreal. NBC called me up because I had an airbag issue with a Hyundai I bought. It was a salvage vehicle because I got into this accident. It wasn't my fault. And the car was totaled on the freeway. And so I needed another car, and they gave me this check. And I says, I don't want car payments. I finished my car payments. I'm just going to take the check and see what I can buy. But I wanted, a vehicle that had low miles and that was nicer than the car I had. And salvage vehicle, 30% off. I'm an auto mechanic. If anyone should know how to buy a salvage vehicle, it should be me, right? No frame damage and stuff. So I bought one, and so it had a couple of recalls. I took it to the Hyundai dealer. Oh, this is a salvage vehicle. I'm sorry, we don't cover recalls. So I was just so upset. I said, what do you mean, So NBC was doing a thing about recalls, so I shared my story. They were here the next day with a film crew. They did this whole thing on me, and they called Hyundai, and they said, oh, yes, safety is an issue. And no, and next thing I know, the dealer's calling me, oh, we're so sorry, yeah, we'll take care of it. Come on down. And so what's that guy's name? Randy Mack from NBC, and so maybe Mythbusters will let me be the guy in the wheelchair who goes over the curb to see if I break an ankle.
It's too bad you didn't have that falling on film with Charlene, but so that's interesting. So was that
I was tempted when she was down to take her picture, but I just saw in my mind people looking at the pictures. Oh my God, he took a picture of his wife when she fell down instead of rushing to her. So I didn't do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know, but they'd understand that you're sending that to the insurance company so you can get what you can out of the insurance company. But
I didn't think of that.
So
what's your experience with hospitals?
Well, yeah. I mean,
unless you wanted to ask me that question about Charlene first.
I do. No. I want to ask you about the hospitals because you went to the hospital, and so my grandmother-in-law, I guess, is what it is. I never get that right. It's my wife's grandmother, right? Yeah. And she's in the hospital constantly, and she's 86, and my wife's father is her caretaker. And so they're constantly in the hospital and 2 or 3, 4 day stays, in a nice new hospital in Carlsbad, Oceanside, which is south of you, I guess, right?
Yep.
Yeah, which it is. And first of all, she's a larger woman and she gets no exercise because she sits down all day. So there's a dead weight thing there going on, right? Aren't people really heavier than they really are?
Yes, it's like that thing in the mirror. Objects appear larger than they are or closer than they are.
Right.
I saw that in Jurassic Park.
Well, so she's had a couple of accidents, and the poor guy, her son, who's her caretaker, there's no way he can pick her up, so he has to call 911 for them to come pick her up. Is that make sense?
Yep.
Happens a lot, and so at least there's someone there to watch out for her. But she's constantly coming back and forth in the hospital, and how do you pay for that is my question. And his answer is always Medicare.
Yeah.
So
you're not old enough to have Medicare, right?
I don't guess so, but so what's the deal on that, Dave? Is if it's Medicare and you're old enough, do you have to be 65?
You have to be 65. I have 2.5 more years to go.
Yeah.
I always believed all my life that Medicare wouldn't be there when I reach 65, and it still may not. At the rate we're going here in this country, we could be in Armageddon in 2.5 years.
And so that pays for everything, pays for the ambulance, pays for the 911, and pays for all her care?
They have to approve it, but then you have a supplement plan like Charlene has, costs about $150 a month, and that takes care of the 20% that Medicare doesn't pay for. And sometimes, or many times, if Medicare won't pay at all, they say, no, we're not paying that. The supplement will pay the whole thing. So between the Medicare and your supplement, man, I can't remember the last time I paid a medical bill since she turned 65. It's been ages. So, I like Medicare. The only problem with it is, they're slow in paying the doctors. So a lot of doctors just say, I'm not taking Medicare. So you just have to make sure that your favorite doctor still takes Medicare and will continue to take Medicare. And you'll be in good shape. But how old are you, right?
I'm 56.
Oh, it won't even be there when you're 65. Like the whole it'll all be level.
I want Social Security too, though. I want that to be there too. I'm looking forward to that myself.
Let me know how that turns out. Huh? Good luck with that.
Well, do all hospitals take Medicare? Are they supposed to?
Yes, all hospitals take Medicare. So if you got Medicare, you've got like the golden ticket.
You
and
do.
if you're under 65 and you have Medi-Cal or Medicaid, if it's not in California, you've got the golden ticket. How do you get that? You just have to be poor enough to qualify, or your kids take all your money and now you're poor enough so you qualify, and that is the golden ticket. They'll pay anything.
And so this occurred to me too, is as she's there constantly, and I was helping with her as they're bringing in her meals in the hospital. I'm sure you've been through this. They're bringing in her meals and they're asking her a lot of questions. And it occurred to me as a patient, you got to get sick and tired as a patient, not the caregiver, but you got to get sick and tired of all the questions. Do you want some orange juice, Grandma? Do you want some coffee? Do you want a pancake? And my mother had this breast cancer thing. And so everybody's hovering around trying to help her. And it's a question after question after question. And no one likes to answer questions. So you get sick of it. So I decided this. It's like, look, take some orange juice. I'm not asking her, do you want any orange juice? And it worked out
I like
that way because it's a relief when you don't have to answer questions all the time as a patient. This is something new I figured out this past week.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've been in the hospital. It's scary because up until I was 55, hardly ever went to the hospital, didn't take any medication. I was a healthy specimen of a man, and just things started happening. Arthritis started affecting my toes, and my metatarsals are on the top of your foot, and I couldn't walk. It was great pain, and I went, and they said, "Oh, your foot's riddled with arthritis." I said, "Really?" And then, I got into a bicycle accident. I biked a lot. I went to Mexico twice a year. Rode from Rosarito Beach to Ensenada through the mountains and the barrios, 51 miles. It was fun. It was exciting. It was adventuresome, and I loved it. And I come back here to my little town of Castaic, and I'm riding around the block and stuff. And this lady doesn't see me, and I'm going toward her, and she's at a stop sign, and I get closer, and she's still stopped. And then when I'm like 10 feet in front of her, she just darts out in front of me. I didn't have time to turn. I didn't have time to stop. I just had time to slam into her fender, and the bike stopped, and my body just rolled into the air, like I was flying. And I landed on her windshield, cracked it, body slammed it, and then I bounced onto the asphalt, and my ankle looked like my wife's ankle. And so they took me away and did the x-rays, and the ER guy says, good news, it's only a sprain. And I wanted it to be a sprain so badly. And I said, oh, please, Lord, don't let it be broken. Don't let it be broken. Don't let it be broken. And when he said it was a sprain, I said, great. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. And he says, but you should go check with your orthopedic surgeon as well, because, I'm just the ER guy. I said, that won't be necessary. I believe you. Well, 30 days later, it's not healing. I go to my orthopedic surgeon like 27 days late. He looks at the same x-ray that this guy said was a sprain. He says, I see a fracture. I said, what? Why didn't he see it? He says, I'm a specialist. That guy's like a hot dog doctor on MASH, So
you don't have a picture of that too?
I do, but I'd have to look for it. It's very impressive.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And so also from that comes all kinds of arthritis.
Yep. And then the bone that was supposed to heal on the talus, it didn't heal. It fell off. And it's floating around in my ankle there. And my ankle's still hurting. 2 years my ankle hurt. I'm limping. And so finally he says, we got to get that thing out of there. I says, okay. I just say okay because I'm expecting the pain to go away. So he does arthroscopic surgery, and he grinds it down in there, and he sucks it out of this little tube, and it still hurts, And so 2 years. And then when it finally stops hurting, my back hurts. And I go in, I say, why is my back hurting? My feet stopped hurting. I should be able to walk now, right? He said, oh, you have a herniated disc. I said, I've had a healthy back all my life. What do you mean? I didn't mean this show to be where, you're old when you start exchanging hospital stories and showing scars, and we're just a couple of old farts, I guess. Well,
look, it's like that. I noticed that on the golf course. I was playing with the old guys at 7:00 in the morning because I was working in the afternoon, and they didn't have anything to do but play golf, and that's all they talked about was their doctors and their aches and pains and Viagra. It was those three things that they basically talked about, which is just how it is when you get older. And I always wonder if there's just a day when all of a sudden you become old because you feel great. And then all of a sudden one day you wake up and you go, wow, guess what? And it hits you like a ton of bricks. Like this past weekend, I pulled a quad muscle. I pulled a hamstring. Now, I'm very athletically active, and I've got a swollen left knee. All of these things that have never, ever bothered me ever before. And I wake up on a Monday morning and my whole body is like that. And so that's the age. So that's the age, 55 or 56.
Yeah.
Once you turn the corner of 56 or 57, that's when all the aches and pains come. And I'm not going to no doctor, man. They're just going to tell me stuff, and and I'll be going in and out of the doctor from then on, and they'll be giving me pills, and I don't want to do that. So I've decided if it's a pain that I can take, I will, because that's part of getting old is aches and pains.
Yeah, well, I this has really been bothering me for a year or so. I got an epidural and it went away, and now it came back. And I'm thinking about either getting another epidural, but I just started physical therapy, so I'm going to go that route. He showed me that I was slouching and I needed good posture, which I just reminded myself. And I'm unable to stand for more than 5 minutes. And in his office, I was standing for 20 minutes without any pain. I said, wow, doc, that's good advice. He says, yeah, So I'm going to try that and see if that works. And, when I was younger, I had an airbag accident. It opened, broke my arm in two pieces, just like my wife, but in the arm, just because I was just in a parking lot, just drifting maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 miles an hour. And I tapped a light pole, and it hit exactly where the sensor was on the bumper. The thing exploded. It threw my arm into the windshield, broke the windshield, and broke my arm. And so when they opened me up to fix it, they put titanium in there, but they couldn't close me up because it was so swollen. So they waited another day, and it was still swollen. They waited another day. They said, we got to go in there and close this up or it's going to get infected. But we can't. It won't, so we're going to take a skin graft off of your leg. I says, really? Well, that was more painful than the broken arm. And so they put this patch of skin on there. And then after like 5 months, it started, the swelling went down. And now this patch of skin looked gross, like a Frankenstein monster. And I said, do something about this. My mother won't even look at me. And he said, okay, we'll send you a plastic surgeon. So the plastic surgeon removed the patch and sewed me up. And now it's like you almost can't even see except for a funny little bump here or incision.
Look at a little closer, a little closer.
A little closer. Let's see. You see that?
Yeah. Looks like a normal arm from here. But...
yeah, it looks normal.
Mm-hmm. But it didn't look heinous and ugly and like someone put a patch on.
Imagine it had this extra skin and then the skin started caving inside. It was awful.
It was horrible.
I can't even tell you because it gives me shivers and shudders.
So you had to go to a plastic surgeon to get that done. But
yeah.
And
I was a relatively young man. So through the lawsuit, I sued Nissan because I figured, all my life they taught me to hold the wheel like this, 10 and 2, right? Is that what they taught you?
Yeah.
Well, now with the advent of airbags, they never recanted that rule. And so I looked at my owner's manual, nothing. So that was what my attorney says, your owner's manual should say, now that this vehicle has airbags, make sure, and the post office does this even. Post office tells all their drivers, hold your wheel, below the 3 and the 6. Otherwise, you could have broken bones if the airbag goes off. And so Nissan didn't say that. So we got a petty little settlement. It was just a token settlement, but it was enough to, I didn't just want to pay bills, but I wanted to remember all the pain and suffering I've been through with something nice. So my wife said that she had heard all her life that Jacques Cousteau said the most beautiful place on earth was Tahiti and Bora Bora. So that's where we went, and it was wonderful and memorable. I'm glad we did it. But I think we should take a break before we go into chapter 2 of whatever we're going to talk about.
Being a caregiver takes a special person with passion and compassion. But even you can become a little burned out from time to time. The Caregiver's Caregiver radio show was developed to help you overcome obstacles, adversity, and burnout, as well as just having a place to rest, relax, and recharge your batteries. We've all been there, and you're not alone. Now, you can take the Caregiver's Caregiver with you. Get the top 25 radio shows in convenient form that plugs right into your USB car stereo or computer. Learn the techniques, tips, and encouragement we all need to better handle the day-to-day challenges. For around $1 per show, just $29.77, get the credit card-sized USB card to have with you anytime you need a caregiver's pick-me-up. Just go to DaveTheCaregiversCaregiver.com and order yours today. Go to DaveTheCaregiversCaregiver.com now. Consider it an investment in you, and ultimately, an investment in them. Caregivers, have you ever felt like nothing is going right? Well, cheer up and tune into Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver radio program on HealthStar Worldwide, where you'll learn how to avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout and how to survive the grieving process. With roughly 100 million caregivers in the U.S. and Canada alone, it's about 1/3 of the population. That means everybody probably knows somebody caring for a loved one. They say that there are only 3 types of people in the world: those who are caregivers, those who will become caregivers, and those who will someday need a caregiver. Mothers of special needs children, family members caring for elderly parents, spouses, siblings, or friends caring for disabilities such as Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, stroke, heart disease, diabetes, muscular dystrophy, AIDS, autoimmune diseases. The list goes on. Join Dave and his guests every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific on HealthStar Worldwide as they discuss avoiding caregiver burnout and surviving grief. You'll start feeling better in no time as you begin to receive practical tips and tools that you can start using immediately to help you get through the day and to live life more fully and abundantly.
And we're back with Dave Nassaney and Blade. What's your last name, Blade? Or we don't want to give that out because they'll probably come and shoot you or something.
One name, Blade, man.
We call him Engineer Blade.
Right.
Anyway,
I don't have a last name.
Did you want to know more about Bora Bora?
I did, because if Jacques Cousteau said it, it's got to be true.
And he was true. We went there, and they have these over-the-water bungalows that are just like, you've probably seen pictures of them. And they are so cool because you're over the water, and the water is crystal clear blue, and it's, I don't know, 3 feet deep. It's not very deep, and it goes on forever, this 3-foot, shallow little lagoon before it hits the ocean, and there's no waves or anything. And I was able, I'm a sailor, and I've always sailed catamarans. I was able to rent a catamaran and like tie it up at the bungalow. And here in like Marina del Rey, California, when you rent a catamaran, they don't let you go past the breakwaters because it's so dangerous, But I own my own, and I went out there all the time, and that's where all the fun is. And I remember asking the guy in Bora Bora, I says, "Can I take it out into the ocean?" He says, "Yeah, why not?" I says, "Oh, I don't know. In America, they're afraid of lawsuits." He says, "We don't have lawyers here." So cool place. So I was able to do whatever I wanted with that boat. And they have a coffee table inside with a glass bottom, glass top, glass bottom. So, you're having dinner and you're looking at all the fish and beautiful, tropical, colorful fish just right through your coffee table. And then a little ladder so you can climb down the ladder and swim. I mean, it was just wonderful.
That's
there was
paradise.
only one bad thing about it, right? Because everything can't be perfect. Otherwise, we'd be in heaven. But the imperfect thing, that if I had to change anything about Bora Bora, was just one thing. Can you guess what that would be?
Yeah, let me think. Okay, is it too crowded?
No.
Okay, I'll save the easy one for last. Is it too rainy?
No.
Okay. Is there a McDonald's there?
No.
Are there any automobiles there?
There are some, but
Okay,
it's okay.
The bugs and lizards and animal and pestilence kind of thing.
No, but you're getting warm.
Am I? All right. So
Bigger.
Wild animals?
Smaller.
Smaller?
About the size of a bread box.
Okay, so is it skunks?
No, but that would be a good one.
But are they rodents?
No, I didn't see any.
You didn't. So they're dangerous?
No, just very loud and noisy.
I'll be dipped. It's not how expensive it is. Then that was my last cheap.
No, well, that too. It was very expensive, like twice as expensive as Hawaii.
Okay, straight cat.
A Coke is like $6. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That ruins it.
But the bad thing I'm talking about happens every morning at sunrise.
Chickens, roosters.
Apparently there's a lot of roosters on the island, and every morning they wake you up. And then these are stupid roosters. After you're awake and the sun's been up 2-3 hours, they do it over again. So there was a lot of roosters. I should have brought my gun, and I would have. All right, I don't want any letters from animal lovers.
No, you.
I saw a post on Facebook about cruelty to animals and this, that, and they're showing pictures of puppies and the kittens, and I get that, but they're showing pictures now of pigs and cows and chickens, and I said, okay, I'm sure they all have feelings, but we eat them. What's crueler, putting a chicken, a cow, and a pig in a cage for like all their life, or slaughtering them and killing them? I don't know. It's like, what do you think? It's 50 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Chickens, and they got brains that are the size of peas. So I don't even know if they know.
Yeah, so I have trouble finding compassion for chickens, cows, and pigs.
Do they eat a lot of chicken there? Is everything chicken? Is that the thing? Is it?
No, fish, as you would guess.
Wow.
Okay, but enough of that.
Yeah.
So tell me, have you personally been in the hospital or no?
Yeah, I had I had a suspected lung tumor, cancer in my left lung once, and the doctor told me, and his eye turned white as a sheet, and he couldn't talk when he told me this, and all the tests, tuberculosis, and all these different types of tests to see if they could figure out what this mass was, a density, as they called it, in my left lung. And so everybody was just assured without telling me that it was a lung cancer of some sorts. Didn't even smoke, you know, but it was a lung cancer. So I went through all the tests, and then I had to go through a biopsy, and it had spread to a lymph node, they said, and hot lymph nodes, they said. And so I went to this surgery, this biopsy, and the doctor says, well, I can't find any cancer in it. So all my friends had me 6 feet under, and they're telling me you got 5 months to live and all this kind of thing. And as a result, she said, I can't find any cancer in it. And so it was fine after that. But I've never been able to take a deep breath, a deeper normal breath, because your lung is like kind of filleted. But as a result, it turned out to be a pneumonia, Dave, a pneumonia of some sort. They couldn't tell the difference between a tumor in your lung, a cancer in your lung, or pneumonia. So that's it, you know, and it was fine. I was in and out in like a day or two.
Wow. Fabulous
drugs and all that, and broke a couple of bones. You know, what's the big deal there? I don't know. But and here's a quick one. You ever had you know what a lithotripsy is? If you've ever passed a kidney stone, you ever done that?
Yes, just the other day.
Oh, that's right. I remember you saying that on the show. See, we save all our personal stuff.
So I have to drink 3 liters of these things a day and take some calcium pills because it was a uric acid one, and I never want to go through that childbirth experience again. Yeah. Otherwise, you know, I got guns. Well, just kidding.
They have this thing called lithotripsy. And it's like the asteroids play game, you know, computer game, and they put a laser to your back and they explode this big, you know, kidney stone that they find in your urethra that you're getting ready to pass. So they explode it. It's actually in your kidney.
Really?
Duh. And they explode it into a billion different pieces so when you pass it, you don't feel it as much. So I went through one of those, but the guy missed it. Dave, he missed it. He and I'm like, well, I called him up. I said, what do you mean? It's a lithotripsy. You're supposed to explode that thing. He said, well, it's kind of dark in there. What do you mean?
Used a flashlight.
Why? What do you mean it was kind of dark in there? You know, so I ended up passing it anyway, and so that was awful.
Well, since this is a caregiver show, we should talk about some of the problems of hospitals and caregivers. Number one, doctors can be awfully intimidating. When Charlene had her stroke, you know, he didn't think that it was necessary to include me in the conversations of what they should do to her, you know. Whereas the other neurologist, after it was too late, said, oh, I always include all my patients because, you know what, you're the guy who's going to have to live the rest of your life with a disabled woman. And so, yeah, we want to let you know what's going on. Okay, there's a 3-hour window and it's a blood clot. And if we can give her this clot busting drug, she'll probably be okay. But if it's a bleed and we give it to her, she'll die. And, you know, do you want to take the risk because the CAT scan is kind of inconclusive whether it's a bleed or a clot. There's just a little circle there. I would have said, you know what? You know, I don't know what I would have said, but today I would have said, give it to her, because there are some things worse than death. You know, there are. She would agree.
I would too. Dry kidney stone.
You know,
the one.
If I ever get cancer, I always tell people this. I'm just going to automatically say no chemo, no radiation. I'm just going to let nature take its course because I've seen what it does to people. One of my employees, he's 2 years older than me. He's a smoker all his life. He has lung cancer, and they're giving him chemo. He didn't want it. He felt just like me. But, you know, you talk to the wife and you talk to the son and you talk to the grandkids, and then you change your mind, especially if you're a softie. So he's going through it. He's been going through it 2 months now, and he just says, I can't do this anymore. He says, I'm ready to quit. He says, not only is it, I'm feel they're killing everything, you know, and all of a sudden this tumor pops into my spine. I can't even sit down or stand up, and this is supposed to make me better, and I'm getting worse. He says, I'm just going to stop it. Now, that's what he says, but he didn't talk to his wife and his son and his granddaughter again. And it's like, some people just hang on to life regardless of how poor the quality is. I just don't get that, you know.
Can you find a flaw with this? Because someone told me this story the other day. It was about that very same thing. It's about a woman who was related to somebody I knew who was 76, I think, and never went to the doctor and seemed to be okay. And then for the last 4 or 5 years of her life, and she did die at 76, she seemed like a little uncomfortable and aches and pains and all that. And one day she decided to go get checked up, and she had cancer, a cancer-ridden body. Her body was completely ridden of cancer, and she died like 3 weeks later. I mean, and that's the way to go.
She should have gone to Bora Bora first.
Yes, well, that's right. You know? That's the thing about knowing ahead of time you got cancer, so you can do fun stuff, bucket crap. But
are you going to leave? I saw the bumper sticker. We're spending our children's inheritance. You're going to leave all your money to your kids, and you're going to die in misery, or like Mozart in a pauper's grave. You know?
Yeah. Well, I don't. The radiation, the chemotherapy thing. I've seen that too, and it's supposed to give you quality years, but you don't know. And so I don't want to go through that either. But I'm a softie too, and I know in the end, if that comes down to cancer, I'm going to say, look, I don't want any of that. I just want to go, and that's fine. And I've got everyone taken care of. All my affairs are in order. And then they'll say, no, but you got it. And I'll end up saying, okay, but I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through that.
But when I had the airbag accident, 15 years later, it got infected for the third time, and this time it was worse. My arm, I got titanium in here, and it got infected and it blew up, and so they had to open it up again and clean it out, drain it of all the infection and the pus, and then they decided, because it happened 3 times, to take out that piece of titanium that. And they have little notches on them where they break them off to size. And I noticed that where the break was, it was as sharp as a razor blade. I would think that they would at least, file it down, make it nice, soft and round. Because every time I would go through a doorway and my elbow would hit, it's like somebody stabbed me with an ice pick. And I'd say, ah! And I'm just sure that each time that happened, it bled. And the blood just kind of stayed in there and maybe got infected or something. And they just didn't do it right. But anyway, they sent me home for 6 weeks with an IV and a PICC line that goes in your arm, and it goes up here, goes down here, and it empties out right into your heart. And, I had a hypodermic needle, and I was like a hospital technician. I wear scrubs to bed, so sometimes I run out of the house when I don't have time to change. Everybody thinks I'm a doctor. I joke around. Yeah, I got to do surgery in 10 minutes. So I was in my scrubs, and I'm like, wow, look at me, wannabe doctor. I'm cleaning the PICC line with alcohol, and I'm flushing it with the hypo needle, and I'm doing all this stuff. And for the first 3 days, I wanted to die. I felt like I was on chemotherapy. It was like killing stuff, this antibiotic. And I just told the doctor, I says, I can't do this anymore. I says, I feel like I'm on chemo. And, my affairs are in order. I know where I'm going. Jesus has a place for me. My life insurance is paid for. I'm ready to leave. I'm just going to stop this and let nature take its course. If I die, I die. He says, no, you can't do that. I says, yeah, I can. He says, no, let me see if there's another type of antibiotic I can give you that's not so strong, I says, well, I'll try it, but if that one's not good, I told him instead, he gave me this thing where you just, like 30 seconds each day. The other one was like a minute. It was a drip thing. And so it was tolerable, and so they said the best thing to take when you're taking antibiotics is I can't remember the name of the thing, probiotics, and they're very expensive, but apparently there's a very good. In fact, it's the best probiotics, and it's free. Well, it's not free, but you buy it at Whole Foods. It's raw sauerkraut, and it has to be raw, and it has to be refrigerated, and you just take a tablespoon a day, and it takes care. It gives you billions of good bacteria, as opposed to the other things that just give you hundreds of thousands. So
wow,
it was okay. So I tolerated that for 6 weeks, so I didn't die.
And you made it, and you made it to the other end.
Yep.
The thing that I hate about that whole thing is that you go through all this stuff, and it practically makes everything worse. And you and I know. Okay, and this is the weird thing about it is you say this now, and I do too, and you said it too. It's like, look, if I get a cancer, if I get a debilitating disease, it's going to kill me. I just want to go, and I don't really want it to be treated, especially cancer. Just let me go because I've got all my affairs in order and I'm ready to go. Now, that being said, I have a mother of a friend who went through the same thing and said the same thing and refused to receive any kind of chemotherapy or radiation when she had a cancer of sorts. Told her family this, they respected that, and then she said when it got down to it, when her life was about to end, that changed her whole perspective. And then she said, all right, well, let me see if we can squeeze a couple of more months out of this.
Yeah. Especially like if you have a grandbaby coming, like you just showed me. I assume that's your grandbaby that you showed a picture of.
That's my.
Want to show one more time?
Yeah.
Show the audience your grandbaby. Is that your first?
It's my first.
I could tell by your smile.
Yeah. Well, you know, so
I have 7. I remember my first.
First grandchild?
Yeah, I have 7 now.
Well, just to this, you won't believe.
Oh.
That, Dave, that's my first child.
That's your first child? Is that your wife holding your child?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Child, not grandchild.
Wow. You're like Donald Trump, trophy wife, huh?
Yeah. Or who was the other one that did that? Oh, Abraham. I'm like Abraham.
Oh, yeah.
99er, you know?
Wow. Good for you.
Well, thank you. And then you have to.
Was it planned or a surprise?
No, it was planned. You know, the timing is, everyone's is different. You know, so it just had a different timing kind of thing. But so there's that. So now I have to have the discussion if I do get a cancer or some sort of debilitating disease on whether or not, you know.
Yeah. Just stay healthy.
Well, yeah, as good as you
can.
can.
Exercise, eat good, don't smoke, all that stuff.
0 for 3.
Yeah.
0 for 3.
So getting back to the doctors, you know, they can be intimidating. They have this superiority, you know, and you can't let that affect you. You know, you have to tell them, listen, you know, I know what's going on. I read on the internet or whatever, and I know you're going to be a pain in the butt. That's okay. You can be a pain in the butt. Who cares what this doctor thinks of you? You know, you're the one who may have to live like I am living with his consequences, his bad decision. My wife can't talk and she's paralyzed on the right side, all because this guy was too much of an SOB to share what he's doing with me. And bring me in on the conversation. I could have called somebody and said, hey, you know, he wants to do this. What should I do? You know, blah, blah. I know doctors. I know doctors who are friends. I know lawyers who are friends. So the other thing is you want to always ask what medication they're giving you because, you know, they give wrong medications all the time. And you see them at the hospitals now. They got things they scan and they always say, are you so-and-so, are we operating on your right foot? You know, sometimes they operate on the left foot, you know, when it should be the right foot, or your gallbladder when it should be the appendix and stuff like that. But even though they think they're doing it right with technology and bar scanners and all that stuff, you still, you know, it's almost like owning a gun, right? They said, never point a gun at anybody, even if you are 100% certain it's not loaded. Why? Because sometimes somebody shoots someone and says, oh man, that gun was unloaded. How did, you know, because you just don't take chances, right?
On something as serious as that. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And do you have the right to refuse medication?
Yeah, of course you do.
But people, that's what I mean by doctors. You mean by doctors being intimidating is they think they know everything, and we have a tendency to think they do or know everything when they don't, when a lot of it's educated guessing, you know, and so you have a tendency to trust their opinions when sometimes they're not right.
Yeah. And what's really important is you need, and everybody thinks about this and they're going to do it, but they haven't done it. And I bet you haven't done it, is you need an advanced medical directive. What is that? It's like your last will and testament on your body or your health. So mine says stuff like, you know what, if I'm in a life-threatening situation and you want to do this risky surgery on me, and it might, you know, leave me paralyzed. It might leave me blind. It might leave me whatever. You say, I don't want to be resuscitated. Do not resuscitate. Do not stick tubes down my throat to feed me. Do not stick tubes down my throat to help me breathe. You know, do not put the paddles on me to bring me back after I go, you know. But that's just me, because I know where I'm going when I die.
Well, me too.
And I'm in the sunset years of my life. Now, maybe someone who just had a baby, maybe, you know, that's not the right decision for you. But everybody needs to make an advanced directive where you say, okay, you can give me the paddles, but, you know, I don't want the tube, you know, or whatever. But the thing is, it's your decision, because while you're there in a coma, you can't talk. And then you put someone in charge. You say, okay, I want my wife to make these decisions. And maybe your wife, is like, my employee. They want him no matter what. And they're willing to take him as a vegetable so that they can just look at him and hold his hand and talk to him. And the guy's gone. He's out to lunch. He's been gone for years.
Sometimes that's the whole guilt of letting someone go too, which...
Yeah, it relieves guilt from your loved one. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what'd you call that? Advanced will and testament?
No, it's called an advanced directive.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise known as a living will. In other words, it's a will for when you are still alive, not when you die. And you're in you're coma or whatever. And I'm sure you have life insurance, all the things that you new fathers need to have.
Yeah. Got that for sure. In the end, that's the one thing you want, right? Is life insurance. If you do everything wrong, you got to have life insurance to take care of the family, right? And so that's another thing. That's another thing. Dying ain't so bad. I know where I'm going too, Dave, and it's not so bad. It really isn't. You don't want to leave,
and it won't be long till they see us again. I know it seems like it is,
right?
It's like Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life. Lost all his money. Figured, everybody whose life he touches, is either punches him in the face or they curse him, and he says, it's like nobody would even care if I was here or not, and I'd be better off dead than alive. He was getting ready to jump off the bridge.
I'm worth more dead than alive.
He's got $1,000 life insurance policy, which I guess was a lot of money back in 1929. And so, the story, the angel comes down and convinces him that, his brother would not be alive if it wasn't for you. Your crazy uncle would be an alcoholic, and in the insane asylum, and his wife would be an old maid, and none of your children would be here, and this and that. And sometimes we just forget all of the good things that I love watching that movie because it's just a reminder how special I am.
That's right. That's right. And but that's a terrific statement. Gotta go, huh?
Yeah. Who is that?
That's Wendy.
Oh, I remember Wendy. Hi, Wendy.
Look, if you're
miss you.
You have to show your pretty smile. Well, come on. See?
Oh, too bad we got rid of you before Blab. You would have been a wonderful addition to the show.
Better than me.
If Blade ever retires, just make it known. I want Wendy.
Yep. Known. Okay. Trust me. It's not the first time we've heard that.
All right, a minute ago, we should say our goodbyes, Blade. What else you want to say?
Nothing.
All right. Well, caregivers, I gave you all the advice of what to do. Sorry for the ad-lib show, but, it's better than no show. So God bless you, and tune in every Tuesday at noon. We'll be here next week, hopefully with a great guest. Oh, we do have a great guest. I just can't remember who it is right now, but bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Caregiver's Caregiver radio program with Dave Nassaney. Join Dave each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, or catch the program anytime, 24/7, right here on Health Star Worldwide.